Kid Cudi's dramatic testimony, which concluded week 2 of the Diddy trial, exposed Diddy's involvement in arson and his alleged threats to kill him. Male prostitutes and escorts who attended Diddy's fake parties have testified and identified the celebrities they seen with Diddy. Prosecutors' audio recordings and photographs clearly connect Diddy to these offenses and demonstrate that he was a violent and dangerous man.
Cudi had a brief relationship with Cassie Ventura during this time, and Combs allegedly made threats against him because of it. Cudi testified that he believes Combs actually broke into his house and testified that a few months later, a Molotov cocktail was placed on his Porsche, damaging his car. He told the jury he reached out to Combs after his car caught fire and described him with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his defense team says any sexual encounters were all consensual. Legal contributor Eric Faddis joins me now for more. So, Eric, what do you think? How does Ms. Cudi's testimony impact Combs' arson charges and the racketeering conspiracy counts that he faces, you think?
Yeah, Kira, I think we're firmly moving into RICO territory here. We're getting past some of the sex trafficking allegations, talking about a criminal enterprise that was allegedly engaged in committing crimes. And so Kid Cudi's testimony goes to trying to prove some of those predicate offenses. He says that Diddy and his team burglarized his home after Diddy found out that he was dating Cassie Ventura, and then shortly thereafter blew up his vehicle, which goes to arson. And so that was really the thrust of the testimony. That was the purpose for putting him on. There were some points scored by defense as well. It was some colorful
testimony. Cassie stated in her testimony that when Diddy discovered that he was seeing Cassie, he threatened Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi was warned by Cassie that Diddy would pursue him. And a few days later, Kid Cudi's vehicle exploded. A Molotov cocktail that had been dropped from the sunroof into the car was visible to Kid Cudi when he arrived on the scene. Diddy had threatened Kid Cudi after breaking into his home before to this incident.
Actions committed by Combs during Cudi's brief relationship with Cassie Ventura in 2011, during an apparent breakup between Cassie and Combs.
Kid Cudi had dated Cassie Ventura, and she testified that it made Sean Combs jealous and angry.
Cudi testifying about an alleged break-in at his house in 2011, which he says was Combs showing up when he wasn't home. Cudi testifying that he had a tense phone call with Combs, where Combs insinuates he was at Cudi's home. I said, expletive, you in my house? And he was like, what's up? I was like, expletive, are you in my house? And he said, I just want to talk to you. I was like, I'm on my way over right now. He was like, I'm here. When he arrived, Combs was not there.
But he said Christmas presents he had bought for members of his family were unwrapped, torn open, and his dog was locked in the bathroom.
The courtroom erupted as Kid Cudi publicly supported Cassie, shaking Diddy's confidence. The hip-hop mogul struggled to keep his composure, clearly rattled by the unexpected alliance. Rumors about Diddy's private life surfaced, exposing alleged gay affairs that shocked fans and insiders alike. This explosive testimony threatens to unravel his carefully crafted public image and business empire.
Top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where they inserted the Molotov cocktail, Cudi testified. Arson is part of the racketeering conspiracy count Combs faces. Cassie Ventura previously testified that Combs threatened to have Kid Cudi's car blown up.
Kid Cudi's car fire has been talked about for years, but it's significant now because federal prosecutors are trying to convince the jury that Sean Combs used arson as part of a criminal enterprise. That's one of the predicate acts of the racketeering conspiracy charge. Combs denies it.
Combs denies all the charges against him.
Although he was confused about why it would matter if Sean Combs knew that he was dating Cassie, because he had no reason to believe that they were still romantically involved. Remember, Kid Cudi had been dating Cassie, he says, for about a year at this point. He went and he got her from her apartment and he took her to the only place he thought would keep her safe, which is the Sunset Marquis. It's a hotel in LA. So in this phone call with Cassie, she says, look, Diddy knows we're dating. He asked for your address. I gave him your address, and I'm so scared right now. So he goes and he picks her up at her place and takes her to the Sunset Marquis Hotel. While they're there, they got a phone call from a friend of Cassie's who said, I'm sitting in front of your house right now, Kid Cudi. Sean Combs and an associate of his are inside your house. And that's when he was like, what is going on? He said he was angry. So he gets in his car. He said it was a Porsche 911 convertible. And on his way to the house, that's when he's starting to get worried about, what am I walking into? Could Combs have weapons? Who else could be there at the house? Could this turn violent? Although he said he did want to fight Combs for breaking into his house. And so he called 911, but he also called Combs and he said, why are you in my house? And he said, I'm on my way. So when he got to his house, Diddy wasn't there. What he did notice was that his surveillance cameras were turned the other way, some Christmas presents were unwrapped from Chanel for his family, and that also his dog was in a bathroom with the door closed.
Diddy's reaction was unmissable when Kid Cudi stood by Cassie's side during the intense court battle. His anger spilled over, revealing cracks beneath his tough exterior. Meanwhile, whispers about Diddy's hidden gay relationships stirred controversy and gossip. The courtroom drama turned into a scandalous spectacle, captivating media and fans as Diddy faced pressure from every angle.
So on this particular night, he's staying at an ex-girlfriend's house, and while he's there, early in the morning, he gets a call from his dog's babysitter who's house sitting for him and says, your car's on fire in the driveway. So he instructs her to call 911. The authorities and the fire department show up at his house, and then he calls a friend to go there and start taking pictures of his car. When he gets there, authorities are already at the scene, and what they find is something called a Molotov cocktail. That was a bottle with liquid in it and a rag that had been set on fire, and somebody had cut the roof of his convertible and dropped it inside. And then we saw pictures of all this damage today, and he said that unfortunately his car could not be repaired. So police collected all of this evidence, and there was some sort of an investigation. But today we heard on cross-examination Brian Steele, who's a very famous attorney out of Atlanta who represented Young Thug in his state RICO case. And he got up there and really tried to poke holes in this idea that Combs was the one who destroyed his Porsche. And he said, look, there was an investigation, nobody was charged, and they even took DNA evidence and fingerprints at the scene. And what connects Combs to this incident, right? Because all we really know is that Cassie said that Combs threatened to do this, but there isn't any security footage. There isn't any proof that Combs either told somebody to do it or actually did it himself.
Mescudi says he and Combs met at the Soho House in Los Angeles.
He said he remembered walking into a room with all sorts of glass windows and Sean Combs staring out the window, his hands behind his back, looking like what Kid Cudi called a Marvel supervillain. That earned something of a chuckle inside the courtroom. But he said Combs' demeanor was very calm.
Mescudi said he told Combs that Cassie told him she and Combs were broken up. When the meeting ended, he says, we stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, what are we going to do about my car? He looked right back at me, very cold stare, and said, I don't know what you're talking about.
And remember, Cassie Ventura had sent her mom an email just before Christmas in 2011 saying that Combs had threatened to harm both her and Scott Mescudi.
Mescudi testified that Combs basically apologized for everything without admitting any involvement in the firebombing a couple of years later, and that Mescudi had made peace with it. After his testimony, Kid Cudi posting to his Instagram stories.
And I've been seeing all the love and support, and I just want to say thank you so much, man. This is a stressful situation. I'm glad it's behind.
In a surprising courtroom twist, Kid Cudi's support for Cassie caused Diddy to lose his calm. The mogul's hidden personal life was thrust into the spotlight as allegations of gay affairs surfaced. This revelation fueled heated debates online, casting a shadow over Diddy's reputation. The legal battle is no longer just about money, it's about secrets threatening to explode publicly.
No one was ever prosecuted. There's no direct evidence at all linking Sean Combs. And that's a problem. It's enough for the court of public opinion, but it's not enough for a court of law where proof beyond a reasonable doubt is required. Do we think he did it? Heck yes, we think he did it. But I don't know if that's enough to prove arson as one of those crimes that they've alleged was part of his RICO criminal enterprise.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Apart from the fact that he threatened to do it before it was actually done, there's no evidence that he used a staff member or anyone in his enterprise to do that either. I was more interested in the break-in and an assistant named Capricorn Clark, who apparently, Kid Cudi said, screamed to him on the phone, I was forced into a car and forced to drive with Diddy to your home where I am parked right now, and he is in there in your home right now. To me, that screamed with a receipt almost of forced labor and coercive behavior within your enterprise to commit a crime.
Yeah, it's possible. It's not enough to show he's a really bad guy. It is definitely not enough to show that he is an abuser, which they have proven beyond all doubt. They must show these crimes.
For the first time since the start of the trial,
Tensions soared when Kid Cudi backed Cassie against Diddy, sparking an emotional outburst from the hip-hop icon. Behind the scenes, stories of Diddy's secret gay relationships began to leak, shaking the music world. The court case morphed into a high-stakes drama exposing private scandals. Fans watched closely, wondering how these revelations would affect Diddy's career and legacy.
Look inside Combs's Miami mansion the day federal agents busted the gate open last year to raid it. A federal agent testifying about the evidence, guns and ammo seized from Diddy's home that were found near alleged freak-off supplies, which included dozens of bottles of baby oil and boxes of platform heels, bondage restraints, and bundles of rope. Also photographed as evidence that day, motivational messages on Combs's bathroom mirror that included "You a legend" and "Upward motion," and drugs. Lots of drugs, including ones found in plastic bags inside a Gucci bag, and orange tablets with the Tesla logo that tested positive for ecstasy. Now, Combs has pleaded not guilty to all allegations in this case.
So we just got new exhibits today. Take a look at these photos that prosecutors have just today. Some pictures from when Diddy was arrested in September of last year at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York. And a special agent with Homeland Security testified last week that some of the items found included baby oil, drugs, these pink packets of ketamine. There's also this image of a knife wedged in a door. Now, Combs, we aren't sure if he's going to be taking a stand in his own defense, but he denies all of the allegations against him. But will all of these witnesses really prove the government's charges that he was running this criminal empire and that he's guilty of?
His lawyer Brian Steele was going to push for a mistrial yesterday during Kid Cudi's testimony. And the reason that he was about to push for a mistrial is because he thought that Kid Cudi was going to say that Diddy unalived people. One of the last questions that was asked to Kid Cudi in his testimony by the government is if he had safety concerns, and this is basically why he left his relationship with Cassie Ventura. Then Diddy's team called for a sidebar where you go up to the judge and you express concerns or issues that you're having. Brian Steele said, "Your Honor, I'm going to move for a mistrial. The government knows the answer that is about to be that Mr. Combs has had other people unalived. This is an outrageous question." And the judge shot back quick and said, "He didn't say that." Then Brian Steele says, "But he will say that." And the judge said, "He hasn't said that." Brian Steele said, "Well, he's about to say it, and I'm putting the court on notice." And the judge went in even harder and said, "No, you don't get to put me on notice. There are no grounds for any application along those lines of a mistrial, because no question that you are talking about has been asked and the answer has not been given." The judge then says, "Now what is your objection to the question that was asked?" Brian Steele says it again. "Why were you scared of Mr. Combs?" And his answer is going to be because Mr. Combs is violent. He had other people unalived. The judge then says his understanding of the things that had happened and his understanding of that event is not a 404A issue, which is what was raised, correct? I believe that that's going to be his answer to why he was scared. I'm preempting it because I know the court if he says it. Basically saying if Kid Cudi said that Diddy had people unalived, that he was going to move for a mistrial. The judge then says, "That's the way you raise the issue? Okay. Yes, I just wanted to give you a preview. Now, what further questions do you have, Ms. Johnson?" And this is the government. "I don't have any further questions on this. I don't believe that that's what he would say. I was specifically directing this to the end of the relationship and his concerns at that time. The judge says, well, to be fair, you asked the question and you got your answer. And Mr. Steele, your point is, let's just move on, right? And Brian Steele says, please. And then the judge said, so let's move on. Nothing ended up coming from it because Kid Cudi did not say that Diddy had anybody unalived. His response to that question was that Diddy was violent.
Diddy's anger was palpable after Kid Cudi publicly sided with Cassie during the court proceedings. The drama intensified as rumors about Diddy's gay affairs became headline news, surprising many followers. The exposure challenges the mogul's tough public persona and ignites questions about trust and loyalty in the music industry. This case promises shocking twists ahead for everyone involved.